Good morning. Barry here. As you can see, I guess I'm back home in my spare room slash office here in Halliburton. Um, just wanted to give a quick overview, a summary really of the trip home that I had last Friday. Some of you are probably curious how that went. Bottom line, it went fine. Um, as you might expect, before I left the Netherlands, I had to go and get a PCR COVID test, which I did on the Tuesday. It was 89 euros, about 130 bucks in Holland to get that done. In Holland and France and South Africa, quite frankly, the practice is pretty standard, which is that if you go in the morning, you get your results back later that day. If you go later, like in the afternoon or evening, it's the next day. So basically, the place I went, they said if you came before 1 in the afternoon, actually 2 in the afternoon, you'd get your results that night, which I did. They were fine. Um, Went to the airport in Amsterdam Friday morning. Went early, partly because I woke up and I had nothing else to do. The Amsterdam airport's like a big shopping mall, so it's actually not a bad place to be stuck for a while. Lots of restaurants and stores and stuff. So I went when I arrived. It seemed pretty normal. I was flying KLM, so that's their home airport. So they're the big airline, so they have a lot of capacity in terms of dealing with people who are showing up. If you were showing up for an Air Canada flight there, probably only opens 3 hours before departure or something like that. But with KLM, they're in operation all the time. I went through that, took a little bit longer than usual. The woman checked my Arrive Can app on my phone, and she looked at my vaccine proof of vaccination PCR test very quickly, but told me that once I went through security and got inside the terminal, I would have to show my documents to someone else, kind of who would look at them more carefully. And some of you may have seen I actually posted a video taken from that spot in the airport. That went fine, killed an extra half an hour. I walked around, shopped, got on the plane, felt pretty normal. Now, what's interesting, if you've ever been on a flight where somebody didn't make it for whatever reason, they're supposed to get on the flight, but they don't, they have to take their bags off. And I think that's happening more often now because some people get to the front and they don't have the right documentation, or they got off a previous flight to make a connection and something took longer than usual. So the number of people who are just actually not showing up at the gate for the flight is higher than usual. That happened to us. They have to take their baggage off the plane. So that took about 20 minutes. They're actually pretty good at that too. All of the bags are tagged and they know which kind of canister or whatever it's in underneath. So 20 minutes delay, taking off, took off, flew, flight was fine, had an empty seat beside me. So that's 4 long flights I took on this trip. And in each case, the seat beside me was empty, which is nice. It's not necessary, but it's nice to be able to kind of spread out with your junk a little bit. So then flew to Toronto, landed in Toronto about 20 minutes late. So that was kind of as expected. But it really didn't know what to expect, and neither did anybody else in the plane. We were talking about it. So we went into the airport, kind of seemed normal getting off the plane, but then they were actually checking passports as we were getting off the plane. I have had that happen in the past. I actually think that has something to do with immigration, that for whatever reason, there was a person on that plane that, for whatever reason, didn't have the right paperwork or something like that. And that was discovered, between the time we took off and the time we landed. So I don't think that was a COVID measure, but basically 2 officials there. They look at your passport, they look at your face, and that didn't take long. When we got to the point where you used to kind of show that cardboard, that piece of paper you had to fill out, have you been on a farm? Are you carrying more than $10,000 or something like that? Now they don't do that. Now they have those terminals. You walk up, you put your passport in, you answer a bunch of questions. It automatically takes a picture of you, and then you go up to the agent. So got to that point. I can tell you that the everybody had to go through that to get to the front. When my machine spit out my piece of paper, it said PH on it. And, often there's a 2-letter code, and I wondered what that meant. When I got to the front of the line and talked to the agent, he wrote in a pink marker PH, and he put a PHC sticker on my passport, a little disc. And at that point, I thought, oh, I have been chosen for testing. So anyway, I went through, after you deal with the agent, normally you just kind of walk out and get your baggage. Well, they had another layer and I was directed into another room where, it's the complicated people get sent there, or in this case, those who were randomly selected. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess from looking around that only about 5% of the people on our flight were selected for that. I think I was selected by the computer. I don't think I was selected by the agent. I think he maybe confirmed it, but went in there. That was a bit of a lineup. A couple of women with young kids, and the kids are cranky, understandably. It was a bit crappy, quite frankly. Plus, you just had no idea what's next. As it turned out, what's next wasn't bad, but you didn't know that while you're standing there in line for 20 minutes. I probably added a half an hour. So then I get out to get my suitcase, which was there. So I thought, okay, well, I'm good now. And I was in Terminal 3. So then after my suitcases, I'm leaving the terminal. There is another guy there checking your passport. And because I had the pink sticker, he sent me in the other direction, which meant I had to go for testing. So that didn't take long. I had to go in. A guy kind of registered me online. It's this private company that's doing it. Then they sent me over. A woman took a swab. It was interesting. So kind of up the nose, but only about an inch. So not deep and in both sides. So the last 4 PCR tests I've had, each one was done differently. So that seems kind of odd. What was surprising to me is they said I didn't have to do anything else. I didn't have to go straight home. I didn't have to isolate. I mean, given that 95% of the people just walked off the plane, basically they said, we'll send you the results, and until then you can act normally. But if you get a positive result, obviously you have to contact your local health unit and quarantine. But I had thought what I read previously was that you had to quarantine until you got the result, which kind of logically makes sense. But they made it very clear to me, no, you don't have to do that. They gave me paper that showed that I don't have to do that. So I walked out, went and got my car, drove home. Here I am. I was kind of waiting to make this video thinking that the last part of my little story here would be that I got the negative result back. But it's Monday morning and I still don't have the result, which is really weird because everywhere else in the world, slow results are less than 24 hours and express results are 2 hours, right? I feel like I'm back in the old dry cleaning days in Halliburton where you sent your stuff out on Tuesday and you got it back Friday. In all those other places, it's for sure less than 24 hours, sometimes 2 hours. I was talking to a cousin in Korea yesterday who's flying home. She said that at the airport there, just the regular service is 3 hours. So why on earth 2.5 days later I still don't have a result? I don't know, but it is what it is. So that probably took me an hour and a half to get through the whole airport thing from the time I landed in Toronto. So that's not good, but it's not horrible. Like I would say, quote unquote, normal would be half an hour to an hour to actually leave the building. And who knows whether what I just said is going to be true a week or two from now. I think they're ramping up their capacity for testing at the airport. I think somebody is smart enough to know that we can only divert the number of people we can manage. We don't want to backlog the whole airport. So I think if they have more testers outside, they'll just skim more people out of the line and send them in. So anyway, no complaints, not really any complaints with the process. I have serious complaints with the fact that nobody knows in advance what the hell's going on. If you read the government website, it says we're going to test everybody, but that's just not true. It's like 2 weeks ago, and it's totally not true. So the airports are doing what they can, which is logical. I'd love to get the head of the Pearson airport on TV and ask him or her the questions, because they tell you the truth, which is that those guys in Ottawa have no idea what they're doing. They tell us we're going to do something. We just, if 5 planes with 300 people land at the same time, that's 1,500 people, all from overseas destinations. Like, how many testers are we going to have, right? Really, are we going to hold those people in the airport? Like, it just practically doesn't work. Ottawa continues to make reasonable decisions. I think they're overly cautious. I find it really frustrating. It's so obvious to me that doing things that make it appear that they're doing something is more important than actually doing the right thing. So, but anyway, bottom line, I'm home. I'm safe. Everything's good. Don't know whether I'll be able to go back in April to South Africa. Today, it doesn't look very good. But I have a feeling that this Omicron wave is going to hit hard and it's going to pass quickly. So anyway, that's it for now.